Update. Am I the a-hole for getting an expensive car, even though I knew my long-term girlfriend would be upset about it? Original post. I am 27 and my girlfriend Georgia is 25 and works as a pharmacy associate. We have been together for 2.5 years and I do see a future with her. I work in healthcare and have been scrimping and saving through most of my 20s. I didn't have much of a college experience and have just stacked money for my future. Recently, I got fed up with my Hyundai and decided that it was finally time to trade it in for something nice and comfortable for myself. I told my girlfriend about my plan, and she asked me what cars I was looking at, and she vehemently disagreed. I found it surprising, but I said that I wanted to get the car anyway. This was a point of contention for a while, so I found myself holding off on pulling the trigger on purchasing a car. This has been the first real fight in our relationship. I would bring it up, and she would either shut it down or give me some reason I didn't find particularly convincing. It's too expensive. Well, I can afford it. I have a lot of money saved. Eventually, I was getting frustrated and vented to my friend, and he said, "She's joining onto your life. She can either hop on or not. You don't need her permission." I figured that was a valid point. I told Georgia that I was getting a car. She said, "Do what you want." And that was that. I got a 2022 Audi A6 45 Premium Plus a couple of days ago. I test drove it, and it rode so smoothly. It had black leather seats, a white exterior, low miles, a clean Carfax, and 20-inch V-rims. I was so happy. I got it for $39,000 out the door, put $15,000 down, traded in my Hyundai, and financed the rest through my credit union. I drove home grinning ear to ear. I called my girlfriend later that day and invited her to my apartment. I cooked her salmon and mashed potatoes and cracked open a store-bought cheesecake. Eventually, I took her outside and showed her the car. I figured once she saw how nice of a purchase I made, maybe she wouldn't be so mad. After all, could you be mad as a passenger princess in German luxury? It was a vain hope. She was upset. She said, "You actually did it?" I said, "Yeah." I said I was going to. We started bickering. She asked how much it cost. I told her. She said, "That's more than I make in a year." I said, "Yeah, but I can afford it." We went back and forth, but the argument devolved. Eventually, I said, "If you can't be happy for me, you can just go ahead and go home." She started tearing up and apologized. I apologized for snapping. We just had a quiet night, and after that. Today, I spoke with my girlfriend, and she said that she wanted an apology from me for disregarding her feelings regarding me purchasing an expensive vehicle. I told her no apology was coming for that. I was happy with my purchase. She could either get over it or not, but how she felt about it was not my problem to solve. She said that was really mean, and I said it was really mean that she was trying to control my purchases as a grown man. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Evidently, y'all don't even live together. Not her call. No apologies necessary on your part. Just watch out if she continues to harp about it. Shut it down immediately. You might want to reconsider the relationship. You're young and saved for this beautiful car and had every right to purchase it. This coming from a mom and grandma. Best thing to do is treat the car right. Do the required maintenance, and it will run for a long time. Personally, I've always bought the low-end Honda Civic and ran it for 125,000 miles before I had to sell it, moving overseas. The new owner took it for a test drive and asked if I wanted more money because it was in pristine shape. I gave him a friends and family discount. Ultimately, it seems you and the girlfriend are not on the same page financially. It's difficult to see this relationship working long-term. It's a German car, so it's even more important to be on top of maintenance. I'm going to treat her like a princess. The car, that is. The girlfriend? To be decided right now. She's upset at me. If she has no financial involvement, she has no say over what you do with your money. 100% correct. She can, however, consider how he spends his money as a factor in whether he is someone she wants to stay in a long-term relationship with and potentially marry. It sounds like OP is already prepared for the possibility she may break up with him, though. Now for the update. Well, I got to the root of the issue with my girlfriend after we spoke yesterday. First things first, to clear up a few commonly mentioned things in the comments. My girlfriend wasn't expecting a ring. She didn't want one while she was deciding whether to go to graduate school or pharmacy school. I can afford the car. I work as a nurse making over $70,000 and have a lot of savings. I've worked as a nurse for 4 years, lived with my parents for 3 of those years, and didn't spend much at all. The used Audi A6 I purchased is the biggest purchase I've ever made, and I wanted to finance half of it in case I want a mortgage in the future. Things have gotten better between the two of us since the exchange at the end of my last post. I did take her out to get some ice cream and also surprised her by taking her to get her nails done as well. She asked if I was trying to bribe her out of being mad, and I said no, just trying to be kind, even though I had planned these weekend activities ahead of time and was still fairly mad at her. Normally, after a date out, we would wrap things up at my place, but I didn't have the bandwidth and wanted some space. I dropped her back off at her parents' house and asked if she could come by my place tomorrow so we could just quash this issue looming over our relationship. She said okay. I ran errands yesterday and prepared for my girlfriend to come by. Around 6, she came by after her shift. I sat her down at the table with a pizza and basically just asked that we keep it civil and try not to get too emotional. I asked her why the car was too expensive. She said that it just was. It's excessive and wasteful. I said that I agree. That caught her off guard. I told her that I saved a lot of money and basically spent very little on myself, so just once I wanted to be a bit excessive on myself. She asked if it was a one-off thing. I said probably. I intend to treat the car very well. I asked why her reaction was so strong to the car. This is where she kind of shut down a little. I prodded her a bit. She said that she decided she wanted to go to pharmacy school. She was going to tell me soon, and while she was making this big adult decision in her eyes, here I was blowing a bunch of money on a luxury car. I congratulated her on making up her mind on a career. I didn't particularly agree with her characterization, but I could see how she could view it that way. I asked which schools she was applying to, and she mentioned a few public universities in our state. I asked how she was planning on paying, and she said she had no other options other than loans. She was also hoping I would be willing to help out or chip in. I told her that I loved her, but that she took out her anxieties about being able to pay for her pharmacy degree on me instead of being happy for me. She apologized for that and said she didn't realize that getting a nice car meant a lot to me. She started crying, and I held her for a bit. We spoke for a long time after that. In summary, though, things are uncertain. I feel like I saw a really bad side of her before we took some really big steps together. Her lack of communication and feeling of control over my purchase concerned me, and I don't think it would be a good idea for me to marry her. I say marry her because there is no way I would support someone through a pharmacy degree without some sort of legal reassurance. Things left on a bittersweet note, but with an I love you nonetheless. I dropped her off back at her parents' house. Right now, I'm 90% leaning towards ending this relationship because I just don't see us heading in the same direction anymore. I probably won't update or respond to comments for a while. I have 2 back-to-back shifts starting tomorrow, and I'm going to hit the hay after this post. I'm glad you were open. It does concern me a little that she reiterated that she hoped it was a one-time thing. You aren't married and seem to be very responsible, so I feel that was a little controlling. I would hope she would sort through her issues about money before you ever took your relationship further, get serious in marriage, etc. I don't think she has any issues with money, other than the fact that any he spends on himself is less he has to spend on her schooling. That's a major red flag. They're not married or even living together. I would never expect a boyfriend to pay for my schooling. That's why she was mad. She wanted the money. How dare he not bank her first? So she got upset that her boyfriend spent money on something he wanted because she wanted him to pay for her schooling that she hadn't told him about. Another story where someone really ruins their own gravy train. Like, he's responsible with money, and she knows it. If he can afford a fancy car, he can probably afford some school payments as well. How much better would her future be looking if she just faked enthusiasm about the car and immediately asked to go for a ride? Second story, update. Am I the a-hole for not letting my fiancé's best friend live with us anymore, leading to the end of our 5-year relationship? Original post. Hi, I am currently going through a breakup with my fiancé, and I need input from strangers. My friends have been validating a lot of my feelings, but I feel like that could be biased. Some context. I'm 26 male, she is 23 female. We'll call her Kate. We've been together just under 5 years, engaged for almost 2. I proposed on our anniversary. Anyway, this time last year, we moved into a rental property my parents own with her best friend. We'll call her May, 27 female. For the 18 months leading up to this, I had worked in law enforcement. That job 100% made me realize that you can't change the system from within, and made me fully all cops are bastards. I was injured a few times and also dealt with some close calls and some really heavy things. Even though I knew I should have been talking to a psychologist during my time there, I kept neglecting my mental health until I broke down. I got injured again, couldn't stop smoking, and quit the job. I was in denial about my PTSD and kept trying to push past it and get a different job in security. I couldn't do this, and the feeling of failure combined with being terrified of everyone around me outside meant I struggled to find the motivation to find another job or do anything. I even struggled to go to the shops for some time. During this time, May and I were always around each other and butting heads. Shortly after we moved in, while we were setting up rooms, I asked her not to touch some 3D printed D&D models I had made and painted due to some breaking in transport and me not wanting to risk more damage. She ended up moving all of them while setting up shelves, and even unboxed ones I didn't want unboxed. I told her I had specifically asked her not to touch them and that it upset me she did. Her response was, I needed to unbox stuff and put it on shelves before the party. We had housewarming coming up. I told her she could have done that without touching them, and she yelled, they wouldn't have been touched if you had done it yourself. When I talked to my fiancé about this, she took May's side. This established a pattern. May would do something that crossed a boundary, and she would yell at me. I did also do things that crossed her boundaries, and I tried to apologize and explain that I didn't understand it had been an issue, and that clear communication would help me understand in the future. A few months went by, and I became terrified of May. Every time I was around her, my heart pounded, I looked for weapons, and my body reacted to her as a threat. Unfortunately, I responded by being angry. I felt like my fiancé wasn't doing anything to make the house feel welcoming to me. I begged her to talk to May, and she said she did, but that I needed to apologize first and show that I could change. Eventually, in January, it reached a point where May would clean a small section of our patio and sit and smoke there. We would all sit and smoke together, but she would only clean the section she sat in. That area was where I sat most of the time when she wasn't around. One week she got angry because I left my stuff in her spot, and on a different day, I didn't immediately stop smoking and move over for her. I told her it was a communal area and she didn't own that spot. The next day I came home and she was building a couch in that area. I told my fiancé that it seemed like a petty attempt to take ownership of the space. My fiancé dismissed that, but also said I wouldn't be able to sit on it due to the weight rating. I tried to overlook it, but I asked my fiancé to bring up moving it because, at this point, I was too scared to talk to May and was avoiding her. My fiancé refused for a while, then did and said the couch stayed, and started telling me to suck it up, her actual words. This led to us arguing and me picking the couch up over our heads and moving it to the other side of the table. At this point, May said they were moving out, and I said it wasn't going to work with us together in the house. My fiancé and May spent the next 6 months just telling me to stop being angry and apologize, and that everything was my fault. I had felt so ashamed for this entire year that I didn't tell my friends any of this until this past week. I was constantly sent to the bedroom when May was around, though she wasn't there every day. It felt like I wasn't welcome in the house. When I asked when May was moving out, I was told she wasn't, then that she was, and this kept happening. I stayed scared of May. Then my fiancé began screaming at and berating me for not having empathy, for not loving her, or for not caring about her. I yelled too, but I also slowly began to feel hated by her. And as it went on, I just wanted to do anything to keep her happy. I apologized and was yelled at by May. This happened 3 times in a row, so I gave up. I didn't care about May anymore. She destroyed the friendship we had. I felt so unsafe that I wanted her out of my life, but I could never ask my fiancée to give up her friendship. I just didn't want her in the house. I accused my fiancée of having an emotional affair. She denied anything, but also told me May thought she had been in love with Kate, but talked it through with a psychologist and decided she just loves her like a sister. This struck me as weird, and a lot of my friends are calling it manipulative. Last week, we hit a point. Kate had gone off and spent the night where May has been staying and told me she was staying at 10:30 p.m. She recently gave May $1,000 to fix their car. I finally talked to some friends about everything, and they made me feel validated in my fear, my suspicions, and just didn't make me feel crazy anymore. I had been conflicted with how I felt. I knew I was wrong to be angry, and I was sorry for my actions. I tried to make up for them, but when I asked for the same, I got yelled at for asking. It felt like I was being told May can act however she wants, and Kate will defend her, but if I step a toe out of line, I will be told off. I felt like a third wheel in my own engagement. Please let me know if you think I'm the a-hole or not. I will try and provide any additional information if possible. I felt like a third in my own engagement. Yep, not the a-hole. Time to move on and stop supplementing fiancé and May's lifestyles. Honestly, thank you so much for saying this. I started to cry because I felt like I was going mad trying to say everything. This went from me trying to get perspective to letting my feelings out, and I thought it might be incoherent rambling. I'm pretty sure you were getting emotionally abused in some way. Yeah, I will be talking about this all with a psychologist. Not the a-hole. I strongly suggest that you have a witness with you every time you interact with either of them from now on. I guarantee they know exactly how they're triggering your anxiety and likely PTSD and are doing so intentionally because they know that they can easily manipulate you and situations once you're triggered. It genuinely isn't safe for you emotionally to be around them alone. Thank you for the advice. I was planning on trying to have a friend around for dividing assets. Edit/mini update. I just found out that Kate has been lying to me for a few weeks about a mutual friend of ours, one of my best friends. Kate told me this friend thought I had changed, was no longer the person I was, and didn't want me in their life. Because of this, I didn't reach out to them after the breakup until this morning. I asked how I had changed and why they didn't want me as a friend. They then denied not wanting me as a friend, told me they still love me and want me in their life. We've begun making plans to catch up and talk this weekend. This has made me realize that I have well and truly been manipulated and lied to, and that I'm not going crazy and losing everyone and everything. I don't know how long this has been happening, whether it's the full 5 years or just since May has been this entwined with our relationship. Now for the full update a month later. I stayed at my parents' house for a week. After returning, I didn't know if Kate would be there or not. She wasn't. She took the cat, a few items of clothing, and all our sheets and pillows. I reached out, asking if she wanted to talk about things and if she was working that Wednesday, so we could sit down and discuss who gets what and her moving out. She had threatened to take all the furniture during the breakup, so I wanted to divide the things we'd bought together between us. She said she didn't want to meet and that she had asked for my roster to collect her stuff when I wasn't there. Because of her threatening to take the bed and everything else, I said I didn't want her in the house without me and would change the locks. She eventually said she wanted to do it via text, but I told her it should be in person. There are a lot of things in a lot of random places that needed to be sorted through. She refused. I then found out a few days later from my brother that she had messaged my parents, telling them I had turned off all her fish tanks and wasn't letting her in to do anything to them. I was more than happy for her to come over while I was there. I just didn't trust her after finding out about a lot of her lies about my friends hating me. My parents called and the 4 of us spoke. My brother confirmed the tanks were all on and clean. My parents told me she had hired a moving crew for Tuesday to get all her stuff. My parents own the house we live in. I put a lock on the bedroom door and changed all the locks in the house. I told her Tuesday didn't work for me, but Wednesday would. She refused and said she was coming, so I sent her the list of things she wasn't to take, and she insisted on taking the entire bedroom set. I told my manager about what was happening. She already knew about the breakup. I broke down at work the next day and told her everything. She was so understanding, actually helped a lot, and I'm so thankful for her. On Tuesday, they came just before I left for work. I called my brother, and he started coming toward the house. I had moved all Kate and May's belongings outside that I could find and move. A friend helped me with May's bed. My brother arrived after I left and told me they were inside the house. I told my manager, who agreed to let me leave early when the second staff member started, which was in 5 hours. My brother planted himself on the sofa, kept an eye on the bedroom, and kept me updated. When I arrived, they had gutted most of the house of all their stuff, but also a few of my items. I found out more after it was over. She took one of my consoles and the cables to my other so I couldn't use it. They didn't get in the bedroom or take the couch at least. I later found out they stole my cookbooks, rice, flour, and a few other weird things. However, not long after, I decided to try and put myself back out there and just have some fun, casual dates until I was ready for something long-term. I quickly realized it wasn't for me anymore and that I wanted something serious. But I met someone and we immediately clicked. We were sending huge paragraphs, info dumping to each other, and shared a lot of the same interests and passions. We've gone out a few times now, and I really like them. I really hope this works out well. I'm taking it slowly though. You're not thinking about the whole circumstance. What if she retaliates by telling the police he's being abusive and preventing her from escaping? That was in my mind the entire time, which is why I put her stuff in the garage.